Maybe I can put it here.
Hello, and we are live here at the Montessori Show. This is the February 2018 Montessori Show with Simone. Hello, Simone. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, my computer just spun around. That's funny. It's Simone Davies here from the Montessori Notebook, calling in from Amsterdam. I'm glad you can all join us tonight.
Yes, and this morning in San Diego, it's 11 a.m.
We've already got a couple of people in the chat room. Morven's joining us again from Scotland. Hoping to join you soon. Just about to put my little ones to bed. Morven, no problem. We'll catch up with you soon. And Carrie from Nashville, Tennessee in the USA. I'm sipping on some ginger kombucha while wearing my 7-month-old freezer nap. That sounds very cool.
Oh, that sounds very nice. And I am drinking a nice coffee that I got this morning as I headed out to do a home consultation and came back just in time for the show. So perfect.
That sounds lovely.
Yes.
So today's going to be a fun one. Today, we often talk here on the Montessori Show about things that you have questions about, which often means the struggles in implementing things with our kids and when our kids won't listen to us and these kind of things. And today it's a little switching it up a little bit. We're going to talk about our Montessori success stories. And we've had already some really nice emails come in with people sharing some things that they noticed in their house. I love one of the mums who said there's almost like success stories every day, which is super nice to hear. So we'll hear about some of them in a minute. So,
and to me, it's we decided to change it up a little bit too, so that we can be grateful and take the time to acknowledge the things that are going well, because unfortunately, as humans, we tend to focus on what's not going well, but our little humans are learning wonderful things each and every day, and we're improving our lives, their lives each and every day. And it's good to take time and just savor those wins. So that's why we thought we would do this. And we will also get to questions that come in if there are, things that you need support around.
Sounds good. Irena is also on the call from the Czech Republic. If you want to join the chat room, you might need to jump onto a laptop or a desktop because I don't think it shows up on iPads and tablets. So just something to keep in mind if you're wondering where all these people are chatting, because that's actually going to be a great way for you to share any Montessori success stories that you have had. I think the chat box limits some of your comments to 200 characters, but just keep pasting different comments and we'll follow it along. What we'll do is we'll start with the emails that have come in and then we'll get to anything that comes through in the chat room. Does that sound good, Jeanne-Marie?
That sounds perfect.
All right. Montessori, let's start. Do you want to go first?
Sure, I will go first. So I'm just going to read some of these comments that have come in. And the first one came in from Francis. Here is an excerpt from my personal blog that I wanted to share for the show. Jack is 3.5 years old. Nina is 12 months old. Apologies for the large check. I'm unable to change it. Okay. Jack's dustpan and brush. One of the presents we got Jack for Christmas was a child-sized dustpan and brush. When we returned home from the holidays, I placed it in his cleaning caddy in his kitchen cupboard. I showed him where he could find it, along with his sponges, hand mitts, spray bottles, and apron. It sounds like he has a nice setup, by the way, Francis. Well done. I encouraged him to use it to sweep up crumbs a few times, but he's only been willing to use it once so far. He usually enjoys helping out around the house, but recently not as much. He certainly wasn't very enthusiastic about this new dustpan and brush. I was beginning to think I shouldn't have bought it. Fast forward to a few weeks later, Nina, Jack, and I were finishing off our lunch. Nina took her plate off her tray and dropped it on the floor. It shattered into several pieces. I was able to stay calm and say, "Oh dear, Nina, you dropped your plate and it broke." Then I ran through some options in my head on how I was going to clean this up while keeping Nina safe from the sharp pieces. She crawls fast nowadays, and there are no enclosed spaces in our apartment where I can keep her contained. I can't leave her in her high chair because she can easily stand up, on it and climb out. The seatbelt doesn't out. I guess I'll put her in the baby carrier, but her clothes and her hands are covered in food, so I should go and clean her up first. I must have stood there for a long time while wondering and perhaps looking bewildered, because all of a sudden, Jack jumped out of his chair with the energy of someone having a eureka moment and said, "I got it, Mommy." He ran to the kitchen, got his dustpan and brush from his cupboard, and started sweeping up the broken pieces. I sighed with relief and thanked him and said that I'll just clean Nina up and I'll come help. I'm so proud of him and so happy for him. He saw that he could help, that he can contribute and make a difference. And he had the confidence and the ability to do so all on his own. It warmed my heart because those are exactly the gifts I wanted to give him. And I am so grateful in that moment. I genuinely needed help. He helped me without me having to ask, something he's learned by example from his caring dad. He also sees this modeled in his school. He told me that when someone drops a plate at school, another child helps them to sweep it up. His action that day reminded me to trust him, to trust that he's listening, even though it might not seem like it, even though it may seem like he doesn't show any interest. I've also seen in action, once again, how much it matters that we prepare our home environment to help him be successful, and that when we give children time and space, they will often rise up to the occasion. Wonderful. What a beautiful, beautiful story. That is just gorgeous, because as Francis described, he might not have been interested at the time that you got the dustpan and everything, but he absorbed what it was for, and then, was able to rise to the occasion and help you. So that is just wonderful success story. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Another thing
Wonderful.
I take from that is how capable they are as well. He read emotions that his mum wasn't quite ready, and then he also stepped in and was able to do it. It reminds me a little bit of one of my success stories. When my daughter was very young, they were playing out in the backyard, and I was busy with the tradesmen in the house. And some people, you may have heard this story before. And she comes walking past and into the bedroom and grabs some dry clothes and puts the wet ones into the basket and then walks back out again. And she wasn't even 2 years old. And this tradesman was just like, if you set the environment up so they can have success, they can get on and manage it. And he said, "Oh, my 3 or 4 year old don't even take themselves to the toilet yet," and she'd just gone and sorted herself out. It was very sweet.
Yes, and we have a comment here from Irina that it's true that it takes much effort to make parents see what their children are just wonderful, and that they are so capable. So yes, very, very good point.
And Irina says, "I got it, Mummy." You can just picture the little one saying that, can't you?
Yes.
Carrie also says, "Gosh, I love that. How fulfilling for his budding spirit." Indeed. And Corvell has joined us. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us on the call today. So another one came in. I'm just going to scroll down. This is a short one from Valentina. She said, "Our Montessori success is that my little 21-month-old child is able to put his jacket and hat on alone. Suffice to say, Adriano, and your jacket and your hat, let's go," and imitating his brother, who is attending a Montessori school. His babysitter calls him my Montessori boy because he's so independent in everything, sometimes more than the bigger 4-year-old brother. They pick things up from their bigger siblings, definitely.
And what I like in that little comment too is the simple words that, that we're just reminding them what we expect of them, that, sometimes, and I know we've talked about this many of times of, sometimes we just go into these long-winded explanations when all we need to say is coat, shoes, and they know what to do. So wonderful. Very good.
Yeah, that's kind of brilliant. Yeah, it also is a good chance to remind people who maybe don't know about the Montessori coat flip how to teach a young child to put on their own coat, because it's actually quite difficult to get your arm in and throw the jacket around your shoulder and get your other arm in this hole. And so if people haven't done it before, you can lay the child's coat on the ground in front of them, and it's almost upside down the way that you wouldn't expect. It's like with the hood or the neck end of the coat faced up but at your feet, and then the child can slip their arms into the hands into down the arms and lift it up and over their head, and it slides down and ready to be zipped up. So it's a really nice way. If you haven't seen it, then definitely Google Montessori coat flip and start practicing.
Yes, and maybe we can include that little video in the replay email, because it is a very useful, simple way for the children to be able to put their coats on independently.
Yeah,
wonderful,
nice.
wonderful. So there was one above that I will read from Annie.
This one. Sorry.
What? You skipped that one. That's okay. Annie is from Bulgaria, and she now lives in Greece. Her child is 5.5-year-old, and she found out about Montessori before 4 months, and it changed our life completely. We are thinking of sending our daughter to a Montessori preschool. Yes, of course you should. I will say yes. Because of the fact that I live away from my family and my husband is working a lot, I'm taking care of our daughter most of the time, and we didn't connect a lot with her. I was doing things for her, which she was capable of doing herself. We were correcting her from time to time, etc. Our daughter was too shy. She was sending her friends to ask the teacher if she needed help, rarely claiming things and expressing positions. But the thing that rang a bell in my head was that one time when she was too frustrated and couldn't manage it at all, she went to hide, and she was screaming not to look at her. This was a turning point for me. I thought, when this all happened and why. When she was 1.5, about 2 years old, her temperament looked quite different to me. So I looked for some help and found websites about the Montessori approach and your videos at YouTube. I watched them all, and I took a lot of notes. Well, wonderful. And I bought the book Positive Discipline for preschoolers, which you recommended. Now, only 4 months later, following your advice, we are so happy, because we are observing the appearance of that temperament and that she has inside and she couldn't show. I'm actually crying right now. Oh, Annie, thank you so much for sharing this. Now she is standing up for herself, expressing her position. She's claiming for the things that she needs. She actually raised her hand to be an Indian chief in the kindergarten this week, and she asked me not to take her so early from the kindergarten. I'm sorry that I will not be able to join you tomorrow because we have an event. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And what a beautiful testament to just being in tune with our children and respecting their needs. I mean, Annie, you were aware, and you were able to see that she needed a little extra support, and you got it. So I'm glad that you found us and that you found the information that was important for you to have for your daughter.
Yeah,
wonderful.
That's really
Thank
cool.
you for sharing. Beautiful.
All right, one from Katka.
Yes.
Katka writes, I learned about Montessori while I was pregnant and had enough time to study everything before Sarah was born. Knowing about child development and sensitive periods definitely helped me be less chaotic in raising my daughter, as I knew which stage she was in. So it helped me prepare suitable activities for her, not to expect too little, neither too much from her. All what we were doing, all activities, a good relationship buildings, when we were never bored. Positive discipline techniques, mindfulness, nonviolent communication, and all of it came together in a Montessori package. Definitely helped not only with Sarah's upbringing, but in improvement of her marital relationship. That's also good, huh? See, the parents are also important. It's also a good method to gain respect of your own parents and your parents-in-law, as they saw Sarah progressing and being able to do things at a very early age, such as eat on her own, etc. So we've never had arguments about raising our child because they saw this method works, and they, for example, always asked us about what gifts we would like to get for Sarah. They simply didn't want to mess it up with stupid and useless toys. Though it's not the easiest and sometimes tidiest method out there, I would decide for it again for sure. Katka.
That's wonderful. And it's wonderful that you have your other caregivers on board, because I know that that can be sometimes a struggle where maybe they're not trusting, or they don't know much about it, and want to revert to what they've experienced. So you've done an awfully good job. Wonderful.
It
Wonderful.
may actually even be a good lead into one of the questions that came in via the Facebook page. If I
Yes.
read that out for you from Jenny, because she said she often watches the replay, but she's unable to attend the live show. So she posted a question ahead of time. My 3-year-old daughter reacts quite strongly when she feels she's being told off or interprets that she's getting in trouble. It may even be as simple as someone moving her aside if she's in the path of someone else. At home, we aim to avoid negative punishment and encourage positive discipline. I'm looking for suggestions on how to develop her resilience around this. I imagine this all ties in with her resistance to anyone who says no to her, family or otherwise, and her desire to have a sense of control over her environment and choices, the normal developmental processes. I'd be grateful to hear your wisdom and thoughts.
Well, we talked a little bit about this offline, Simone, and I think you had a really good point about being your child's translator. So I would love for you to share a little bit more of how you would actually do that with Jenny's daughter.
Yeah, so what I was thinking is that, let me bring the question back up. If someone kind of says, oh, can you move aside, and pushes you aside, then I would translate for them saying, oh, it sounds like the man wants to get past, and trying to rephrase it for him in that positive way that we would normally use. And the other thing is eventually to build skills about these things too. So you see them get upset. First, I would help them calm down, because when they're upset, they can't hear anything anyway. But you can also then say, oh, you could say, I don't like to be pushed out of the way, or, can you see me? I'm here. Whatever words you'd like to give them to keep practicing, so that they can also eventually stand up for themselves. So we're there to translate for them and help them through difficult moments. And I find it really useful. For example, the reason it came to mind to talk about this question now is, say you have a grandparent who doesn't like something the same way as you do it at home, and they say you're not allowed to jump on the couch, and at home they are, then you can say, oh, it sounds like grandma doesn't want you to jump on the couch right now. So again, you're kind of putting it into the words in a way that she would understand and hear, as opposed to feeling completely helpless and, yeah, in the very traditional way, authoritative way that people often speak to young children. So yeah.
Yes. No, and that's true. I mean, we need to be there to also help them understand their own feelings. I mean, it's just, she's sensitive to people telling her to get out of the way. So give her the tools to fend for herself. Definitely. Wonderful. And then Irina also put that she took her mother 9 years. It took my mom 9 years to understand Montessori, but now she sees the result, and she is a great grandmother to my brother's little one. I'm proud that she can see the Montessori miracles. That's wonderful. It is, educating those around us as well. So that is a beautiful Montessori success story. So thank you for sharing that. Should I read the next one from Anaste? I'm not sure how to say that.
We'll quickly just make an announcement that please jump in the chat box if you have some Montessori success stories you'd like to share. It doesn't have to be anything long. It can just be something fun that you spotted today around your house or in the last week or two. It might be something from a few years ago. It's also okay, because we are looking for more stories to share after the next couple. So please pop them in the chat box.
Yes.
And we can also talk about some of the things we see as well. So don't worry, we won't be short of things to talk about. We're never short of things to talk about.
So Anaste, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing it properly. But I have so many success stories. Actually, it's more like daily, and there are definitely less off days than there are amazing days. So that's a very good thing to hear. Almost every day, there is one of those amazing moments that happen, largely because we have followed Montessori since birth with both our girls, now 2.5 and 1. For example, our 1-year-old and 1-month-old eating at the table with a fork from a normal plate, same as the rest of the family drinking from a real glass. It's not always perfect and not always clean. Stuff happens. But for most of the meals now, she can eat on her own beautifully and totally independently. And when she's done, she shows us that she wants to wash hands. It's her favorite activity at the moment. It's also exciting to see her already attempting her first work in the kitchen. She's already trying to chop some fruits with her wavy chopper, and she's rolling dough. This has lots to do with multi-age part. As the second child, she obviously is learning so much from her sister, and her concentration is unbelievable. She can spend such a long time with her stacking rings and similar toys. And with my 2.5-year-old, so impressed with her vocabulary. I'm so proud. It's a proud parenting moment when people are taken by surprise that she uses words like stethoscope or rectangle totally correctly. And overall, I just love her confidence. She is how interesting it is to carry out a conversation with her. Not to mention the time when she spends half an hour working with a pink tower, admiring it and saying that she loves it. Or the 1.5 hour that she spent doing her puzzle over and over again. Or when guests bring us fruit and she immediately goes to wash it in her sink. Or when she goes to get a glass of water, pours the water for guests younger than her. I could keep going on forever. Love Montessori and can't wait to see what more the future brings. Well, those are beautiful, beautiful success stories. And I have to also raise my glass to you as a parent to, give her the opportunity to have these experiences, to set up the environment, and more importantly, to let her play with a puzzle for 1.5 hours and be so focused and concentrated, because I think that that's one thing that parents do need help with in understanding how important those moments of repetition and concentration are. So very well done. Wonderful.
That is, yeah, I love that list, really. I think it's pretty cute when they're able to serve your guests and things, then people start to realize, oh, this is a different way to raise your children, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, definitely. Definitely. Do you want to read the next one?
Absolutely. So let's have a look. This one's from the chat room. Carrie Panther says, we cloth diaper our 7-month-old, and every time we have a dirty one, our precious 2.75-year-old goes with me to the toilet, takes the sprayer off of the holder, and he sprays the diaper while I scrub. It truly takes a village. So there's a little bit of helping extra hands around looking after the baby. And I mean, what 2.5-year-old doesn't love to use a spray bottle? I know. It's very sweet. I changed around my classroom this week, and now the children can climb the stair and it reaches a window. And so one of the children worked out that they could bring the spray bottle over from our other window cleaning activity and start cleaning that window. It was really lovely to see. So there's lots of window cleaning opportunities, definitely, with the spray bottle and or with cleaning diapers.
And this also, to me, is a perfect example of how to help an older child, be in tune with their younger siblings. Like in having them help you from the very beginning is so important. Like giving them that responsibility and that significance that yes, they are an older sibling, and they have some great things that they can be doing and helping us. So wonderful. Wonderful.
So there's a couple of comments that are coming in through the chat room. Welcome to Carrie, who's from Colorado, and she actually can comment from her app. So if anyone's using the Google app, apparently you can post from there. Her family has so many success stories with Montessori, and her 2.75-year-old also loves how it challenges him. So I've asked her if she wants it, has any specific stories. So we'll get back to you about that one.
Yes, and again, Irina shares, every day I come to my children's kindergarten, I feel deeply grateful that my daughter can attend. She used to be so stubborn and talked with her fist, and now she is a loving, caring 5-year-old. So wonderful. The community definitely does a lot for, for our little ones to learn from each other and to have that sense of being able to socialize and sometimes kind of get out of their shell. So wonderful that you're giving her that opportunity.
There's some more of Carrie's success stories are coming through in little chunks, and it says, and it allows him to be make him an independent person. We started to do it when he was 18 months old, and we're so excited to start from birth with our baby girl in May. I do have a question about while looking at my Montessori preschool. Do you have any advice for when our little ones start preschool at 3 years? He's very sensitive, and we worry about this new transition from learning at home. That's a good one for you, Jeanne-Marie, because you worked for a long time in a Montessori preschool.
Right. And for me here, what's important is, do your research of the different schools that are near you, that, feel good to you. And to me here, it's really about tuning in to your intuition. You know your child better than anybody else. So, then once you have the different environments that you think would be appropriate for your son, is really taking the time to observe. So really, as much as possible, seeing if the school is, willing to let you just sit in one of the classrooms and observe, or if they have, windows that you can watch, because here, this is where you're going to get the sense of how are the adults interacting with the children? Do the children have a sense of pride and happiness? And are they really choosing their own work? Are they, being left to focus and so forth? And I think we did a show on, kind of the specifics and the red flags. But, if you are looking specifically for a Montessori school, there is the notion of the uninterrupted work cycles that to me are very important, and the notion of mixed ages. So if he's, entering a community at 3, there should be 3, 4, 5, and maybe even 6-year-olds together. And this is a very, important aspect of Montessori. So there's, I hope that was helpful, but really the main gist is really for you to take the time to observe. Don't just go by the certifications or, what you've heard of the school. Like, take the time to go in and put your sensors out and make sure this is a place your child is going to thrive in.
A couple of things that helped me as well when my kids were starting was they had an intake where the children came to the classroom first and met the teacher, and they got to know a little bit about their interests and that kind of thing, which helped them engage in the first few days. Also, my children like to arrive early, so they were one of the first to arrive in the classroom, so it wasn't completely full and busy with activity. So that can be a nice tip, to be kind of playing in the playground for 10 minutes before to let them warm up and then come through as well. And like Jeanne-Marie says, I really think they pick up from us as a parent how comfortable we feel with the teachers and the environment. So if we can give them off a very positive, very high vibe, have a great time in class, and I'm going to see you after singing time. And then we walk away and leave the teachers, even if they're crying, but just confident that they're going to be okay. Then that also gives them a good message. And then you can see them at the end of the day and say, oh, it's so lovely to see you. You don't have to say, I'm going to miss you, or it's going to be really hard, because they don't need, that's too much for them to carry. They just need to know that this is a safe place that my parents have chosen for me to go. So hopefully that helps. Jumping back into the chat room, we have a lovely Miriam. She actually used to come to Jacaranda Tree with her kids, and now they live in Austria. And she says that my 18-month-old loves to set the table for us and pours her own drinks from a small pitcher. And I love that now that we've got a group snack time in my classes, which we've been doing for the last 2 weeks, seeing the older children starting to set the table and pass out glasses, and everyone gets their own cutlery and bowls. they love it. They just want to help. It's so, yeah, it's so beautiful to start young now, because if you try to start when the children are 6, they'll be like, Mummy, you do it. And the other way for a Montessori kid who's always done it, it's just built into the routine and they're so happy to contribute. So it's really nice.
Yes. And then there's some comments also that came in from Core. And she says her 18-month-old daughter started putting her dirty clothes in her little laundry bin. This week, she towel dried dishes on her own without me showing her how to do it. She must have been observing. Yes, she has been, and absorbing it all. She also cleans spills on the floor, has been more interested in painting. She helps me cook by going on her learning tower and takes interest in what I do. She has also been taking more and more, talking more and more new words every day. It is just wonderful to witness all this. Yes, it is. And you know, it's exactly that. They have been watching us. They have been observing and absorbing. And now that they're able to, their hands are free, they're wanting to do the same thing. And they, you know, show great interest. And that's why we're always saying, you know, that if they want to be there with you, please welcome them. Please engage them in an activity, because that's what they need and want. And it's so beneficial. So wonderful.
I also think that for those people who might be new to Montessori, maybe this is one of their first calls that they've been on. For a learning tower is like a ladder where children can stand up at the height of the kitchen counter and help prepare the food. My children are now 17 and 15, so when they were small, learning towers didn't exist yet. No one had invented them, or maybe they did, but were very expensive. And so you can even we just had a simple step ladder like that you would get from a hardware store, and we could collapse it because we didn't have a very big kitchen, and put it aside, and it just enabled them to climb up, and there was a bar at the top that they could hold on to. And I was always just in arm's length. But it's basically about having the children involved in preparing meals if they want to. We never force them to join. But if they're saying, I need to get up, rather than trying to cook one-handed, it's lovely to have them at the height, give them a simple job depending on their age. Maybe a young child might be washing some vegetables, and an older child can start to peel fruit, and then an older child again can start to cut with a butter knife some bananas or some soft vegetables, and then they progress from there. So just to give people a bit of a background as to what that learning tower might be like.
Yes, and the learning tower can actually be bought completely done, and it can be you know, quite large, or there's ways. There's one that I really like that's called an IKEA hack. So if you have, you know, access to an IKEA, it's just one of the wooden tools, and then it's putting basically a little, you know, ring around it at the top so that they feel safe and you're not worried that they're going to fall off. But great way to have them at your level to help. So wonderful. And there's another comment that came in, Simone, that I will read, and it says, it's from 7, and she says, thanks for the great stories you're both shared so far. I recently started looking into Montessori at home with our 20-month-old and our second child coming in June. Wondering where to start. Well,
that's a great question. We should do a whole show on that.
Yes,
but,
definitely.
Why not? We've got time. We can just improvise something right now. But I think the easiest place actually to start, even though it's not the most important thing, is setting up the home so that the child can be more independent, and just gradually making small changes around the home. And then you can start to parent in this way. But little changes just give them a little bits of independence. For me, that's where I started, and I find it the easiest way, because sometimes you'll pick up by following people on Instagram or following a newsletter, for example, about Montessori approach, how we might start to talk to the children. That's like something that I'm still practicing after, you know, more than 15 years working in Montessori education, and with a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. But setting up, for example, when people come to my class and they go home and they say, I got rid of the toy box and I just got a simple shelf and put out, you know, 6 activities, and they all have their own baskets, and I really had to pick things that they were interested in because otherwise they were going to get bored. And it made such a difference. And I changed it, you know, the ones they were playing with every week. Like that would be one change. Like, or by the front door to hang a little low set of hooks where they could hang up their coat, and have a spot by the door where they then put all their shoes, and maybe a chair where they can sit to take their shoes on and off, depending on how much space you have. And on another hook, they could hang up their little bag, like find a little child-sized bag so they can take their own snack in their bag, and maybe even their nappy if they're still using diapers. And those kind of things would be great. And then in every area of the home, you can start to add things like having a low drawer in the kitchen where they could have their own bowl, cutlery, a glass. In the bedroom, they could have clothes, just a few choices down low at their height in a basket even, or eventually move to a low rack where they have less clothes, so they're not all shoved in, so that they can actually see and select for themselves. So yeah, you can definitely make little tweaks around your home. I think that would be the place I would start. And what about you, Jeanne-Marie?
Well, just to just expand on that, to me, 7, it's about observing. It's about kind of seeing where your child is interested, what you're seeing that they're wanting to do independently, and then making sure that they have access to things at their height. So, sit on the floor and see the environment from their point of view. And it's also about just simplifying. We tend to just think that we need to do more and have a lot of activities and things like that. But it's really about keeping things simple. Remember, they are brand new on this planet and they're just trying to figure out what's going on. So just, very simple and observing. And then I will just do a plug for the membership program that I have started, which is exactly what we go in depth and talk about. And this is a group that I have started where it's a monthly membership where I do specific tutorials about how to set up the home, and have photos and give my feedback and things like that. So we will put the link in the replay email that goes out if that's something that could support you with your 20-month-old and your new one on the way.
Very cool.
Yes.
So we missed one from Irena, which I'll go back to. She said, it's great to see that my 10-year-old or 10-month-old, I'm not sure, enjoys
10.
playing with toddlers. Oh, your 10-year-old enjoys playing with toddlers. For example, climbing up and down the stairs with them for an hour. I also like moving around, he says. So yes, definitely Montessori children grow into beautiful Montessori elementary kids as well, which is very fun. Yeah. And Carrie says, thank you for all this advice. That was about the preschool. I love the idea of being a strong mama and staying positive for him. That's very helpful. We're excited for these opportunities for. Thank you both. So that's great. And then Carrie also put, one of our best successes is having both sets of grandparents comment on how independent our 2 3/4 year old is. They love to see how he loves to help make his smoothies, pick up his toys with guidance, put on his snow gears each time with the Montessori coat flip. And so wonderful. That to me is always a success when other, caregivers also see and are able to understand Montessori just by watching how capable and independent their children are. So wonderful. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Let's have a look. Sabia says, just a note to say, loving this month's show. As a mother of a very independent 2.5-year-old son with a second daughter coming along in April, Montessori has been a beacon of opportunities, very independent and very active, both cognitively and physically. That's fun. Thanks, Sabia. It's nice to see you on the call again. And Carrie agrees with Carrie about the grandparents. She says her mother-in-law was a traditional elementary teacher for 30 years and says that their 2.75-year-old is gifted because he's so intelligent and independent, but I believe every child is just as capable. My favorite aspect of Montessori is how empowering it is for the child. Yes, wonderful. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And then Heather here says that Montessori has helped me see the importance of getting outside. A few days ago, I stopped myself from speaking while he observed the rain falling from under our umbrella. It was a simple, beautiful moment that we'll not soon forget.
And yes, I mean, Heather, this is so important. And actually, I just returned from this year's refresher course here in the US. AMI USA does a annual get together, basically, and it's called a refresher course, where we spend 2 full days diving back into the teachings, the philosophy, and everything. And depending on the year, there's different themes. Sometimes it can be very practical, and sometimes it can be just philosophical, which was this year's refresher for me, because I attended the 0 to 3, and it was about preparing ourselves. So we are part of that prepared environment, and we are kind of the what we call the intangible environment. And we talked a lot about the importance of having children in nature, because this is where they understand the harmony of life and how everything is connected and how they are a part of it and such. And this is, you know, for me, it's also important to be in nature because it calms us, but it's also, our children are going to be the keepers of nature, and they need to be in nature to be in love with it and learn to take good care of it. So very good point. Yes.
Yeah.
And just beautiful, your comment about, you know, observing the rain is, you know, like I was saying, it's like, keep things simple, because they are discovering everything for the very first time. So if we are in tune with them, we get to rediscover everything through their eyes. And it is very, very magical to, you know, pause a moment to just observe the rain falling. So wonderful.
Beautiful.
Yes. So what do we have here? 7 says, was just thinking today to have my mom learn about Montessori, even though she is all the way in China. Thought it would still be important. Very important, 7. And I've actually been to China twice to share Montessori with families there. And I know that there is a lot of interest in Montessori. So definitely, I think it's important that all family members learn and continue to learn. So yes, very good idea.
And it says, good morning. My 2-year-old is interested in color, but she doesn't get it. I'm starting with the primary color, but so yeah, I would just keep it naming colors, but at 2 years old, it doesn't matter if she's not interested. It's just follow the child. So I just keep doing input and trusting that it will come out when it's ready, because it can be anywhere from above 3, 4. What do you think, Jeanne-Marie? Have you got any color tips?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, you know, worry about the colors, but you're right about just starting with the primary colors, just, you know, just those 3, and you know, make it part of the language. Oh, can you give me the red plate? Or, you know, where's the blue coat? And that's it. Like, not, I think, you know, sometimes parents get maybe a little fixated in this whole, you know, my child knows their color and their letters and their numbers, but let it be more of experiencing, of just, you know, giving the language, and you know, you can have a puzzle, you can have, you know, matching, putting colors together and things like that. But, you know, I wouldn't worry so much about making sure that they repeat.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I do have a little video on my YouTube channel, I think, with those color tablets that we use in the primary classroom, and just how to do the 3-period lesson, which is, you know, but this is a year down the road. So you know, at 2, I wouldn't concern yourself. Just show what the colors are, and that's it. Yeah.
I really like what Jeanne-Marie says about using it just in your daily life. So like, oh, look, here's the orange, and this is orange, and this is yellow. Can you pass me the yellow ball? And using it very normally. And we often say, oh, what color's this? What color's this? And then they're going to, unless they know it and they're really excited to tell you, they're going to lose their self-conscious their self-confidence and actually be scared because they're going to get it wrong and they don't know it. So just really relax about it. And we try to say, don't test a child under 3 because unless they're really, really super excited to have learned something new, it's a way to actually undo all of our good work and just let them explore.
And you bring up a good point, because we often talk about in Montessori the 3-period lesson, which is really this way of helping the child memorize or just make sense. And for the younger child, we actually never do the 3rd period, which is that period where we ask them, what is this? So because they're just, we don't want that. We want more to just identify it around the environment and such, and it will eventually come. So really no worries. And then
that's cool. And I have a couple of funny stories to share if
sure, that'd be great. Yes.
There's one that I could think of, which is when I was we still lived in Australia. And my children were going to a Montessori school, and it's set on a very beautiful natural bush kind of area. And so the classroom was actually down a whole lot of stairs at the bottom. And I was working in the parent-toddler community, which was at the top of these stairs. And occasionally I'd be out in the garden working with some children. I could see down into the garden of the preschool. Anyway, I happened to spot my son down there with his friends. And normally I see these two and they're chasing each other and they're tumbling around each other because we're at the playground or we're at our house, and they're just 2 boys needing to get, 4-year-old boys have got a lot of energy when they get together. So instead I saw them both with their aprons on, and each had some of the work to clean the leaves of the plants, and one of them was spraying and the other one was wiping. And it was just this beautiful, they were so peaceful, and they were just going from plant to plant. And they couldn't see me. I could just spy down and see this beautiful Montessori moment unfolding. It was gorgeous. And then some other ones that I thought of were that when you see in the classroom a child who's mastered pegging, for example, and along the top of the painting is like 10 pegs because they've got it, oh, it's worked today. Oh, I'll try that again, and I'll try that again. And so at the end of the classroom, you never know, you didn't see it, but you see, oh, I think someone must have mastered their pegging, which is really lovely. And also I love the look on a child's face when they've put their shoes on the wrong feet, but you say, oh, I see you dressed yourself today, or you put your shoes on all by yourself. They look at, yes, I put my shoes on by myself, instead of saying, oh, you got them on the wrong feet, just to have noticed. And they're like, how? I wonder how she knew that. I look very pleased with myself.
How lucky you were to be able to spy on your children. I think that is just such a beautiful window into what they're doing during the day.
It happened very rarely, to be honest. That was, I think, one of the very few times I can remember actually getting to spot one of my own children out in the garden at the same time as I was out there. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of fun. But it was always nice to be on the same camp, like little school as them. That was a very special time. And I would always I'd quickly tidy up and then I'd run down and be there. I was probably always one of the last parents to be ready to pick up. It's very fun.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, there's also, and I'm not sure if this is how they teach pie in Montessori schools like if it's the AMI way or anything like this, but I also remember the joy that my son had when he was learning the circumference of a circle at school. And so he said, oh, Mom, I'm learning how to calculate the circumference of a circle. And I said, oh, pi d, thinking I was so clever because I could remember the formula. But kids in Montessori school don't learn formulas like this because that would be no fun. You're meant to find out, other ways of discovering things for yourself. And he said, no, what do you mean pi d? Anyway, I'll tell you where we're up to. We're not quite finished the lesson. At the moment, I have pieces of string and I'm measuring how long the circumference is. And then I measure the diameter. And when I when I divide the circumference by the diameter, I keep getting this funny number, and it's 3.14 something, something, something. And I'm like, he just discovered pi. It's just like he's never going to forget that, ever, ever, ever. And it's kind of just brilliant, some of the Montessori genius, that's involved in this tactile, hands-on learning, creating curious kids, and giving them more than just a formula, which you may remember.
And that's so true. I mean, and that is so much more powerful for him to actually experience it. You know, it's tangible. He can make sense of it because it's true. And that's what I was also saying, you know, earlier. Sometimes we are proud because our children, you know, but basically they've just memorized something. They don't know it in their core. So very important to give them as much experience, hands-on experience with concrete material to understand all of that. Wonderful.
Great.
Wonderful. And then Seven, you apologize about Jean-Marie or Jeanne-Marie. It's fine. No worries. She was saying that her husband would laugh at her because he's French and she misspelled my name, but no harm made. And then so Jessica asks a question, and I think Jessica, you say my son is new to Montessori school. He's 3 and 11 months, and we are having difficulties in understanding discipline / natural consequence. Any advice? So one thing is we actually have shows that are dedicated to positive discipline, which I would encourage you to search on our channel. I've been changing the titles so that they are specific, because this is more about, you know, understanding just how we communicate with our children, and being firm and kind at the same time, and just making sure to give them choices and such. And that to be careful sometimes when we say natural consequences, they're not all that natural, like we're imposing what the consequences. So that's where, you know, the understanding of, you know, what is truly a natural consequence. So, you know, for example, your child doesn't want to put their shoes on in the morning. Then you can say, well, you know, we need to go, you know, would you like to take them in the car and put them on in the car, or, you know, put them on at school or whatever, and they're going to walk out and it's going to be cold and they might, you know, not feel so good. That's the natural consequence. They're understanding why putting on shoes would probably be a better idea, you know, things like that. And I'm using putting on shoes here because I'm in California and you can go out, but maybe not where you are. I don't know. But yes, so I would just go back and watch one of the positive discipline show. I think it would be better than for us to go into the explanation here.
What we could do quickly, though, is to explain how the concept of freedom within limits, which is a Montessori idea for those who may be newer to the idea, because
Yes.
I think that there is this conception that Montessori kids can do whatever they like. And then, then how do they know that they're not allowed to do some things? And on the other hand, some people say that Montessori is very strict because we have a certain way that we work with many of the materials, and therefore maybe that limits their creativity. And actually Montessori falls somewhere much more in the middle, which is we have some limits, like, for example, the children take turns working with the material. So you wait until someone else has had a turn and then you can have a turn. But you can work with it for as long as you like, and then it will be available soon. So that's one of the limits that we have. But there's a lot of freedom around the classroom to choose whatever you like in the classroom, and you don't have to wait for a teacher to give a presentation to everyone in the class that we're all going to learn the letter A today. If you feel like learning the letter, you know, A, if you're interested in reading, you're going to start with reading. If you want to start with your language work, you could start with language work. So there's a lot of freedom that we give children. And then if water falls on the ground, for example, as they're pouring some water, then I could say, oh, look, there's water on the floor. And the child will go over and get a mop. So again, they're learning how to take responsibility for their environment and things like this. So just to say that we don't completely have no rules in the classroom. There are some well-selected rules, but there's not so many that the children feel like suffocated and that they don't have agency. We really try to build responsibility. And then why you hear Montessori and independence a lot is because if a child can do something for themselves, they feel very proud of themselves and very pleased without having to force a child to do things. So we're always finding ways, what I think Alfie Cohen really nicely says, to work with the children as opposed to doing things to the children. So often discipline is by bribes or by threats or by punishments or rewards. These are the general ways that you get children to cooperate. And instead, a Montessori approach is like, oh, you really want to do this, and the thing is this, how can we find a way to make this work? And when you start laying this foundation in the early years, where you have a teenager who wants to go to a party, and you say, you really want to go to the party, and as your parent, I also want to make sure you're safe. So how can I make sure that you're safe? So, okay, I can call the parent. I could make sure you're cycling with a friend. They could come to our house first so that I know you're going with someone. There's lots of ways. And then if I can't find a way to make sure you're safe, then I might have to say no. And then they really respect that decision as well. So that's a really brief summary of an hour-long show that you can go and check out. And I'll just make a note to add the link in the show notes as well for you.
Yes.
Did I lose anyone there?
No, I don't think so. That was very brief and but good. I mean, it is. It's I think Montessori does get a bad rap for thinking that it's either too loose, that like you say, children do whatever they want, or it's too strict. But it's neither one or the other. It's really about finding the balance between being firm and kind and giving them the opportunity to find solutions, which is, to me, the most important thing. So wonderful. So
Christine
yes.
has said hello from Vienna. She really loves the show, and her son really enjoys washing dishes and cleaning. It's really funny how often he wants to be at the sink and searches for his dishwashing brush. That's adorable.
And they do love water, so that is a very satisfying. All the water activities are always very popular. So yes.
And Christina asks, she's hello from Latvia. I have a question. How do you know when to transfer a child from a high chair to a small table and chair? My son's 1.3 years old, and I've been thinking to transfer him to a small table and chair, but I'm not sure if it's the right time.
So my take on that is, actually, I prefer the high chairs that are chairs that come to the dining room table, such as the Trip Trap from Stokey. It's one of the original ones. There's plenty of branch off, so that you don't have to necessarily transfer from one to the other. The small table could definitely be used for maybe when they're eating more independently, snack time and everything. But the bigger meals where you're together as a family, I would look into getting a high chair that can come to the table where the rest of the where the other family members are eating. Very important. But otherwise, I mean, at a year and 3 months, a small table would be fine as well. To me, always being careful that the chair that they're in, they have their feet on the ground and they're comfortable, but definitely ready for that as well.
Yeah, we always use the small table and chairs for snack time, for example, and then meals at the dining table, with the children being able to get up and down as they can from the dining table. And then that table was multi-purpose, really, because then during the day they'd bring activities over and do Play-Doh there and do other things. And then sometimes we would wipe it down and bring it into the kitchen and use it for baking. So you definitely get good value out of a good, sturdy table and chairs that are cut down to the right height, as Jeanne-Marie says. Which brings us, I think, to almost to the top of the hour, which has gone so fast. Jeanne-Marie, so you've been working on your very fun monthly membership at the moment.
So yes, I have a membership group that's called Montessori Parenting. And so right now it's in its first month and it's been delightful. There's about 25 mothers, one dad, and it's been just wonderful. I've been just sharing kind of in-depth Montessori principles, and then I do some live Q&A, so I answer specific questions. This week we were sharing photos of our different environment, and I was just giving suggestions and things like that. So it's just an ongoing group where I am giving some in-depth information, and then also there to support you, understand it better for you and your child and in your home. So it's been wonderful, and I will share the link with you so that if anybody is interested in joining us, that would be wonderful. And I've also been doing and having a lot of fun with is every Monday. I promised in 2018 that I would do Montessori Mondays. So I have been live on my Facebook page, which is Voilà Montessori, and just sharing, wherever I am that Monday. This past Monday, I was actually still in Phoenix at the AMI refresher course. So I was able to share a little bit about what was going on there. And then I'm just going to keep sharing things, and I welcome you to come ask me questions there as well.
Great. Sounds perfect.
Yes. And how are things going with you? I know your book has made the rounds of social media. I just love seeing all these people all over the world having a beautiful copy of the Montessori Toddler. And all of you watching, if you haven't gotten your copy, definitely get it, because it is a gem. It really is, Simone. You have put so much love and wisdom in there, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful to the touch, to the visuals are gorgeous, and just a wealth of information. So awesome.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun project, putting together a good comprehensive guide to our little toddler friends. And my very close friend Hiyoko did all the illustrations for it with hand-cut drawings, and did beautiful book layout. So it's also very aesthetically pleasing and easy to read for us busy parents. It's kind of the book I wish I had. So that's also a good place to start for those who needed somewhere to start. It's a good one. So
Yes.
I'm very happy to be spreading that around. And we've just started some new classes at Jacaranda Tree. Every 10 weeks we start a new course of parents. We've got some new families, and we've made some changes in our classroom, which has been really fun. And then next week's actually school holidays for us. So I'm heading back to Lyon for 4 days for a restful vacation this time. Last time I went to Lyon, I was busy book writing. So it'll be nice to actually, for one, in summer, everything closes in Lyon. So there wasn't really much to see. So I'm happy to look around and do a bit of sightseeing this time. So that's the news from us, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let's just quickly jump back to the chat and see if there's anything else that popped up. Oops.
There was one question from Christine about how to stop eating while preparing food. But
have you got time?
Sure.
Let's do one more. Okay. So Christine says, my son, 15 months old, enjoys preparing food, but he already starts eating while we prepare food. So it's sometimes hard when he stays at the table when we all eat. We also have this trip trap. Any suggestions how to stop eating while preparing the food? And then Irena says, Simone, the book is great. And Miriam, everyone loves the book. Love the book. What's the name of the book, please? Oh, the name of the book is The Montessori Toddler. Type it into the chat room. Yeah, super fun. And at the moment, it's not yet on Amazon or anything like this. We're reprinting because we ran out of copies. So they'll be available in April. If you want to pre-order a copy, you can jump over to the Montessori Notebook website and grab a pre-order there. So let's go back to the preparing food. This is actually hilarious because right now I've been changing our snack time in my classes from individual snack to group snack. And so in the individual snack, we used to prepare a cracker, sit down, and you could eat it straight away. And so now I'm exactly in the same position because you have these children who are smearing the crackers, and then I have to keep saying, and it goes on the plate for our friends to eat at snack time. And it goes on a plate for our friends at snack time. Oh, you really want to eat it now? And it goes on the plate for snack time. Oh, you got to bite out that one? Okay, I'll put the rest on the plate for snack time. And I just keep repeating it. And amazingly, the second week it's gone easier and easier and easier. So just being, as Jeanne-Marie says, she said kind of firm, and I say kind and clear. I'm just really gentle but very clear. Like, I'm not going to make an exception. So I almost wouldn't let him eat too much while he is preparing the food, because it's going to mean that they start digesting their food then, and then, as you say, then he gets to dinner and he's not so hungry. So it's super hard, but I think it does pay off. It's really like this marshmallow experiment. Do you remember this marshmallow experiment?
Yes.
Delayed gratification with these 4-year-olds, and they said you can have one now, or you can wait 5 minutes and have two. And these children actually is shown that they have better results later in life because they had this skill of delayed gratification. So stick with it. You don't have to, be as clear as you can, I guess.
And to me, it's true that I know when I'm cooking dinner, I'm always tasting. I'm always, so, it's also part of it. So it's just also knowing and letting them know ahead of time, like, what is the intention of preparing all this? It's, like Simone says, is we're going to put it on the platter for everybody else. And, if there's here and there a little taste, it's okay too.
Yeah. It's just the half of the banana that goes in. Oh my gosh, they're so fast. It's hilarious.
I know. I remember watching children prepare like a banana, we're supposed to slice it and put it on a tray for everybody. And they would slice it and just put every piece in the mouth. And then, oh, there's no more banana for everybody else. But that to me just tells me that child was super hungry that morning, and it's okay. So, yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat again, Jeanne-Marie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. You guys were great in the chat room, and it's been really fun to share your Montessori stories today. And this will be a great episode if you want to share it with family, for example, who wonder why you're doing the Montessori approach. Maybe it gives them some ideas of what you're working towards.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful to have you all. And thank you so much for all your beautiful, successful, and inspirational stories. So wonderful. And we'll see you in March.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.